Okay, just want to do a really quick in the bag. I'm an amateur player, 2 years PDGA membership. I'm on my second year right now, and I didn't do anything the first year competing. This is my first year competing, 2016. Recently did the Wintertime Open, got my rating in at 853. I placed 10th out of 17 in the rec division. Um, and then did the one night stand, Innova Champion Disc one night stand over at Verdugo Hills, uh, and uh, and then getting ready for the end of this month of April. On the 30th, I'm going to be over at the Santa Maria Open. Um, so, I got caught by the bug, so I'm getting back into it. Recently, just thought about doing this, mainly for the amateurs, mainly for people who are just trying to get into it. I also want to try to kind of document my progress, to see where I'm going, and how I change my distance around. Uh, as a typical amateur, I think we get a lot more drivers than anything else because we don't know how to really do much with any other type of disc, mid ranges or putters. But I recently started coming into more putters and making part of my game, as well as making use of some mid ranges, but I only have 3 mid ranges that I use. I have a lot of discs. I have probably in excess of 30 some odd discs here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I'm just going to go with only the ones that have been in my bag and consistently used for the last couple of tournaments. A little background, just picked up doing this disc golf 3 years, 3.5 years ago. So I'm going on my 4th year. I decided to play about 3 years before deciding to get into competing. I was a athletic training student, and my athletic trainer and one of the other students took me out to Liberty Park over here in Southern California in Cerritos. Small park, under 200 feet, and for most holes, and had a blast, and it kind of resonated with me because I tend to be a very much of a loner. So for me, having a game that I didn't have to rely on anybody to play with, I didn't have to get a group of people. It's just me and some $10 discs, and I can go out to a park and play for free. So it really appealed to me in terms of getting in my own head and just kind of relax and get some stress off, and then trying to better my game was just something that was a passion that just started to kind of build out of my love for the game. So, and and um, and so now the competition bug bit, and so now I'm trying to compete as much as possible, as much as I can afford, um, and with what's going on locally. So I figure I'm just going to focus in on the discs that I typically play with, and I'll give you a look as to some of the other discs I have, but I'm going to go with the main ones that I have that are my players. So I'm going to start off with my putters, and I got quite a few putters, and I'm playing with all of them, just because I'm trying to get my putt game going on. So I got a Innova box of discs that a bunch of different ones. And I got a factory second of a R Pro AVR. I really like this one because it's pretty flexy, but it's a 170. It feels good in my hand. That's just what I come to look at, is how it feels in my hand when I release it. And I like the short rim on it, and I like how it's pretty flexible, so it in most conditions I can play it. Um, and it's been a consistent putter for me. If I want that feel, especially like I recently played in the rain, it actually sticks better in the rain when it gets wet. You wipe it off a little bit, and it just sticks in your hand better. So definitely like this one a lot. This is the very first putter I bought. It was outside of an Innova. It was a Latitude 64 Spike, soft, zero soft. And what I like about it is the thumb pad on it for your thumb. And again, I like the short rim. Feels really good in my hand. Pretty slim as well, and it's a very stable putter. In the circle, it's been probably the most consistent for me. no matter how bad my form or technique is off. So, and that's something I'm always constantly trying to improve on. This is a much more solid disc, lots more stiffer. It's a Prodigy 300P3. Pretty consistent. If I need something to that I know is going to come solid out of my hand, and I'm maybe outside of the circle, probably around 100 feet, and I need to get this thing out there, I really like this disc. It's slightly deeper in the hand, so I don't really try to drive it. It definitely is just something in that 70-foot range that I like to use. Softbanger GT disc wrapped, mainly 100 feet out. Use it for approaches. Basically, I don't really use it for a whole lot for putting. I wouldn't say it's too light. It feels like it is. It's a 174. I like the groove and that thumb plate. So mainly it's just something I usually approach with from 100 feet out or so. Got this in my, I think I got this in I got it in my Dynamic Disc mystery box. Groundhog Grappler. It's just a classic Judge. Just a little more stiff than the one I'm about to show you. Haven't really given it a whole lot of play, but I have it. Got this as a raffle over at the One Night Stand at Verdugo Hills. It's a 165. I don't know. It's in of a champion. Don't know what type it is. All I know is that it's kind of similar to the P2. But it's been feeling really good. I've been just starting to play with it, so it's a little deeper than I like, but it feels really good. It's pretty grippy. And of course, everybody has to have a Judge. Really liked it. And it's been something I've been playing with more recently. It's got a little give to it. Looking for the weight on it. 175 max weight. I tend to like a lot of max weight putters. That's just the way it is. S-Line P2 Discmania. You know, I first got this. I don't like how deep it is inside the rim. And of course, hearing that Simon Lizotte was playing with it, so of course I gotta go try and get it too. And I like it. It's cool. I'm just, now that I'm starting to get better at my putting, I'm actually starting to appreciate this disc a lot more. So I think, to speak to the amateurs, you know, just because it doesn't feel good right off hand, as your technique gets better, you know, get back, revisit some of these discs. You know, definitely put them aside if it doesn't feel good right off the bat. But as your technique improves or you come across a new breakthrough, definitely go back and give some of these a shot, and you'll be amazed by how much more improvement you get. This came in my mystery box. It's a pure Deco die by Latitude 64. Pretty solid. Feels good in my hand all around. This is something, again, I will use this usually over 100 feet out, or I'll also use it inside the circle if I need something to cut through that wind. And it's a max weight as well, 174. And then recently I also picked up this Excel clutch from Legacy Disc. I'm not really fond of the Excel plastic. I will talk about one other disc that I got that's an Excel. But for this putter, I will say I do like the putter. It doesn't get beat up too much. It doesn't hit any trees, so it's not going to change its flight just yet. But I definitely like it for approach shots. If I need something where I don't want a mid-range, shorter than a mid-range, but you know, just long enough, maybe 100, like I said, maybe 75 to 100 feet out. So, I'm liking this one. Pretty stiff, so not a whole lot of give. Cut through the air, beaded rim, so definitely it's getting more play. So I'm definitely liking it. All right, so now getting to what stays in my bag most of the time. So of course everybody has to have the Champion Rock 3 or a Rock 3 just in general. But this is the Champion version. Paul Macbeth signature, and just got it because, of course, he plays them a lot, and so wanted to give it a shot, and it feels really good in the hand, and very level. Be it if I throw it on a hyzer line, but if I need something really super stable, this is what I'll use. And I just want to get the spider out of the way. I don't like spiders, but I didn't kill it, just swept it out of the way. So definitely have that, make use of that one. And then I have the Gold Line Fuse limited edition by Latitude 64. It came in the Dynamic Disc mystery box. Really like this, super stable, and feels really good out of my hand. Whether I release it on a hyzer or level or anhyzer, it just sticks with that flight path, and that's what I like about it. And then the Mace Latitude 64 also came in that Dynamic Disc mystery box, and definitely really like this one for those upshots, 150 feet out. It's really super stable, but if I try to overthrow it, it turns over, and it doesn't like to be thrown too hard. So you have to be really, for me, it seems to have to be really super stable with it. So it's the churn. Has a -2 for its churn, and so generally you want to take this out on a hyzer, so that way it flips up nice and even. It'll fly out, do its thing, come back in. Typically I'm using this for backhands. I have used it for forehands, but I feel like I have enough control with it. So it's usually just a nice max distance driver if I want to try to get up the alley. So really like the way this one feels. It was one of my first discs that got me over 300 feet, so so I kind of have a bit of affinity towards this disc, and it's pretty consistent. Every time I throw it, it's starting to, it's getting pretty beat in, but this Champion plastic's pretty durable, so definitely digging on this one a lot. So we got here is a Champion Mamba. It's a factory stamp. Has a -5 churn on it. When I first started using it, I started using it for backhands and trying to release it, knowing that it has a -5 turn on it, try to release it on a hyzer line, hope for it to flip up, come back out, and drop in, kind of like the churn does. But I didn't have enough control on it, so I didn't really use this too much in the beginning, but then I kind of kept it hidden away, and I revisited it. The week before the one night stand, I went out to Verdugo Hills to try out the course and give it a shot, and I found that a lot of the holes tend to be very forehand dominant. So I was like, I forehanded this thing a couple of times, and I kind of knew that if I release it on a hyzer, it flips up, comes out, drops in, give me some good distance. So I did that same thing at the course. I finished 7 over. And pretty much every hole, this was my driver. As long as I gave it out on that hyzer line, it did exactly what I described. It goes out level, flies out, drops back in. At the tournament, though, it didn't work that way. I kept turning my wrist over, and it kept coming out level or on an anti line, and ended up just dive bombing into the ground. And where I should have corrected and went with just basically my overstable side armors, and I just kept trying to make this thing work, and it wouldn't work, and I ended up doing very horribly. It was 17 over the first round, and I did 11 over on the second round. But I like what I can do with this. I just got to get more control, and I think that's what I like about trying to keep this in my bag, is that when I do a sidearm, I know that I have to keep it this way, so it'll help me kind of keep that consistency. It just kind of, it shows the holes in your throw, because if I know that I'm rolling my wrist over, this is going to tell me. So that's why I'm keeping this thing in the bag. Prodigy 400S D4. I just bought it on a whim because, well, I have a Prodigy bag, and I figured, well, I better put the Prodigy disc in it. So I got the putter and this disc. These are the only two Prodigies I have. Really like this disc for backhand shots. It's an overstable, but it releases super stable. It comes out nice and straight, and then it'll finish off left. And what I really like about the disc is because of the way it's beveled, it skips. So if I go for like a low line on grass that I know that's going to skip on, and I get that nice little kind of a skipper shot, and then it'll cut back in. So like any kind of holes where there's like a dog leg left, I will use it, or a dog leg right, I will use the sidearm. This is also my sidearm disc. And again, if I throw it, as long as I throw it level, it comes back in. If I throw it, roll the wrist too much, that actually will stick on that ante line on a sidearm and float away. So that's another thing why I keep this disc. One, it's been consistent for backhands and forehands. But with the forehand shot, it definitely will tell me that whether I'm rolling that wrist over or not, because as soon as it flies out, if it flies and it goes on that ante line, then I know that I'm turning that wrist way over. So yeah, I really like this disc a lot. And it's very durable. It's taken some shots. It's pretty kind of like a Champion plastic, and I really like it. It's definitely like a keeper in my bag. Alright, I don't know exactly what this is, because I don't have I just know it's a Champion plastic, but there's no label as to or initials. All I know is that I think I picked this up at the La Mirada Pro Shop, and it kind of reminded me a lot of another disc that was kind of similar to this that I used for forearms. This seems to be very similar to a flick in terms of how flat it is. I use it for forehands mainly. I have used it for backhands. It's pretty stable, but it's an overstable shot. But it's stable going out, but then dive bombs back in, depending on how you do it. So usually I use it for forehand, and if I keep it on a low line and I need to go under a canopy of trees, this will just sail pretty low and stay low if I toss it low. So I haven't really used it for much else, forehands or thumbers or anything like that. It's typically a side armor for me. I like it because I'll get pretty good distance out of it. This came in my mystery box from Dynamic Disc. No, my bad. This didn't. I bought this at the Pro Shop as well over at La Mirada. And it's Dynamic Disc. It's a Trespass Lucid plastic. Pretty fast disc. It's got a negative 0.5, so it's slightly understable. But I definitely like this for backhands, and it's kind of like my G-Star Turn. Pretty stable, right up the middle, and in almost any wind conditions, it just sails right through and then lands, and it doesn't do all these crazy rolls or flips or skips or anything like that. It just goes out, flies, sits. And even though it's a super fast disc, I don't have to put a whole lot on it for this thing to go. So I don't use it as consistently as I should, but I definitely like this one. It's been staying in my bag, and it's been there when I needed it. Recently added this to my bag. It is a Frostline River. from Dynamic Disc, or no, Latitude 64. I got it in my Dynamic Disc mystery box. Um, this is the first run. I love this disc. Um, I had a river before that was not Frostline, but just the regular river, and I didn't care for the way it was going, the way it threw. And so I was hesitant when I saw this, and I was hesitant about like whether this was going to be a keeper or not. Um, and it ended up being a keeper. Looking for the weight on it. Um, oh, there it is. It's a one. Starting to get the sun. 169. What I really like about this one is it's super stable, and I don't have to put a whole lot on it, and this thing will fly. I used it at the one night stand, and it was definitely great for um, getting out there in a nice straight line. And it's got a short ram. I haven't used it for, it doesn't really feel good for me to try to do sidearms with it, so it's a dedicated backhand. But I just get out there, just nice and evil, stable throw, and this thing can go for days. I really been liking this one a lot. So and it's got that kind of champion plastic to it. So definitely been a keeper now. This one came in a box of discs that I bought, and it is a max weight 175 G-Star turned. This one's just super stable. This was the one that got me to 300 feet for the first time, and it's been a consistent, stable driver right up the line, nice and easy. Again, if your technique is on, it lets you know. But what I found too is that my technique has been off. I drop the elbow in, I'm not straight across my chest. This will actually just come out and just fly super stable. So definitely been loving this disc a lot. This has been a keeper, mainly backhands. I don't do any forehands with it. It's just a super awesome backhand stable driver. Picked up a Nuke some years ago, 1.6, just because of Nate Doss, and it's from Discraft, and it's just a really overstable driver, just great for hyzers. That's it, just big hyzer lines. I don't the rim is a little too thick for me for forehands, so I typically use it for backhand hyzer lines or spike hyzers. Just an awesome, solid disc. Takes a beating and barely gets chipped. And last weekend, with my back being out and having to do forehand rollers, I actually added this to try to see what it would do on a roller. And this thing's like a tank. Just cuts to the grass, goes out nice and straight. And if I toss it up high enough and it doesn't get blown by the wind to the right or anything, it goes. Takes that line, drops down, and just runs away. So I might practice this more. My friend just called me to go play at Elda, so I'm about to finish this up and head over there. And I'm probably going to be using this for some rollers. Got me another champion disc, Thunderbird, Paul McBeth. Of course, you have Macbeth's signature on it, you got to go for it. So it's only a 9-speed, but super stable. Use it for forehand, use it for backhand. It's there for any shot that I need it. It's a good all-around disc. You can toss the crap out of it, and it doesn't overturn on you or anything like that. Feels really good in the hands. I've been loving this disc a lot. There's always a use for it in almost any shot, and this is a go-to for me. If I know that I want something that's going to do exactly what I want it to do, this is that. Just added this. I've had it, bought this at the pro shop at La Mirada. It's a Vulcan, and I really haven't given it much of a chance, but usually when I've taken it out to the field just to practice, it's got a -3 churn on it, so you definitely want to release it on a hyzer line so it flips up and get your distance out of it. Feels really, really good, but I just need to put some more time with it. So, but I've just added it to my bag only because it's kind of similar to the Churn. So, looks like we're getting into. Oh, let me do one more. It's not a specialty disc. Of course, we have the Legacy Icon Edition Outlaw. Really love this disc. Great for forehands, great for backhands. Feels really good in the hand. Windy conditions, it doesn't matter, or no wind. It's super stable. It will come out the way you release it. You want to spike hyzer it, you want to ante it, you want to hyzer line, whatever you want to do. It goes and it goes the way it was intended. However you intend to toss that shot out, that's how it goes. So yes, definitely a keeper. Now to my specialty shots. Oh wait, one more. Optoline Latitude 64 Saint. Definitely one of those must-haves in the bag. Feels really good. Somewhat domey. Sails pretty good through the air. Pretty narrow rim. So it doesn't feel too great for me on a sidearm. I really haven't used it for that, but definitely for backhand, it feels really good. Even though it says overstable, it flies out pretty stable for a pretty good length of time, about 300 feet before it's dropping in. So, been loving this one a lot. Again, I just barely starting to use it, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about it other than I liked it every time I did drive with it. Now my specialty shots. This has been my dedicated thumber. It's a Discraft Crush, max distance, 1.8, overstable. I use it for dedicated thumber shots. That's it. That's all this thing I like to use it for. I have used it for backhands and other things, but generally for thumbers, just because of that really narrow rim on it, it just feels really good as a thumber. So that's what I've been using it for. And my roller discs. So I bought this one since it's marketed as a roller disc. I've been trying to use it, but since recently I have not been able to backhand too much, and I haven't really been able to make the most out of it. But it's from Lightning Disc, #1 roller. Whether you toss it down as a forehand or backhand, especially if you do a backhand, it's going to go out and just dive bomb down and hit that line. But it has a long rollout shot. Since I'm not really proficient with rollers, I really can't say too much about it other than, it's super overstable, and so it'll come out, if you backhand it, it's just going to come out and dive bomb and hit that line and roll. And especially with forehands as well too. And my last roller disc would be this Millennium Sirius Orion LF. It probably has a better use than what I have been using it for, but maybe because it's so beat in, I don't really like to use it. It's got a pretty domey profile, and because I found it, and so it's been so beat in that all I have really been trying to do with it is mainly forehand rollers, and it's dedicated for that. It doesn't really do much else than just being a forehand roller for me. So, and that'll be in the bag for that. And so I might as well just finish off with what kind of bag I'm using. This is what I'm using right now. I can get, it's got these dividers in there that you can adjust. I can get up, and this has this inside pocket here. I get relatively about 27 discs in the main pockets, and then I usually toss my putters on the side. I'll put like 3 on each side. And then multiple pockets on the inside, on the sides, places to put pens, markers, snacks. Got the tennis ball in there. Something falls out, gets stuck in the tree. My mini, place for your water bottle, and then more pockets on the side. So Really like the bag, but you're kind of dedicated towards over the shoulder. Uh, but I like it for $75. It was a really good deal, and I can get a lot of discs. So it's one of those. I just load up all my discs and want to go drive. That's what I take it for. It also has. You can also connect. You can also connect your. There we go. If you want to get the backpack straps, you can connect the backpack straps right here, so that way you can make use of the backpack for it if you need it. So, but I haven't. I will probably eventually get a backpack that will have just the dedicated disc that I use. So that's my in the bag. And my channel is just a personal channel. I don't have anything dedicated. I will probably have my friend doing caddy work for me at the Santa Maria Open, which is coming up April 30th. So I'm going to try to get her just to film me playing that, but I'm not going to look for likes and subscribes or anything like that. This is just kind of more of monitoring my progress and just kind of talking to amateur people who are looking to have some discs, so and looking to what to buy and what's going to be good for them. And since I'm recreational player and haven't played that very long, and I'm not very proficient, I think with the discs that I were in my main bag, definitely ones to pick up and give it a shot. And of course, it's just not really going to matter is how it feels in your hand, and your technique can definitely tell you whether that disc is going to work for you or not. So that's it. That's my in the bag. So.